is the office administering the grant, to transition to a program management office, which will be the long-term answers program. And we're looking at a 3-year incubation period, if you will, at ACPE, funded by the Alaska Student Loan Corporation as part of ACPE's operating budget. That Answers Program Office will continue to report to the Executive Governance Board, which will continue to have responsibility and authority for Answers activities, and all of the governance protocols will continue to exist.
But I'm going to read just so you guys, so I make sure that the rest of the committee understands what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about funding now. So we're talking about the money aspect. It says, under the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, our state received money from the U.S. Department of Education, in the form of Phase 2 state fiscal stabilization grant funds in exchange for the state's commitment to advance education reform in 4 key areas. Outlined by the United States Department of Education, and that's on page 3. The grant application states that the creation of a crosswalk between various data systems in place throughout Alaska will be a significant project and will undergird the architect of the development of Answers SLED. Accordingly, Alaska will devote significant project resources, human and otherwise, ensuring this key infrastructure piece is developed. That's on page 90. It is stated in the grant that the last 3 phases of this process will be completed using state funds. How much has Alaska spent on this to date? Do we pay your salaries, all of everybody who's working on this? Do we pay for your salaries and your benefits, your office space and all that, or is this 100% paid for by the federal government?
Through the chair, Representative Reinbold, I don't believe the grant you're referencing is the P20W sleds, because all 6 outcomes of the grant project are scheduled to be funded through the federal grant.
Okay, so what my question is in regards to funding, and it's very, very clear what I stated here. Do we pay your benefits? Do we pay your salary? Do we pay your offices? Do we pay for your conferences? Do we pay for all of yours? And how many of there are you working? The question was in regards to funding. That's where I'm drilling down on right now.
Certainly. Through the chair, Representative Reinbold, the $4 million grant funding pays the majority, if I don't have an exact amount of the cost, so the grant pays all of my time, benefits, travel for Answers projects, but there are also in-kind contributions from the partner organizations, such as executive participation, costs that occur that are absorbed by the agencies, but that's a very small number compared to the $4 million grant funding that's been funding almost all of the Answers activities.
Okay, so I don't want to read between the lines. So you're saying the state has not spent any money on this with any salaries, with any benefits, with anything. It's been 100% paid for in every single aspect by the federal government.
Through the chair, Representative Reinbold, no, that's not what I said. The in-kind contribution would be a state expense. That's just the terminology we use. Essentially, it's money that's state funds that's used for this purpose, and we account for that by characterizing it as an in-kind contribution, and we could provide the sum of those expenses over the project.
Can you give us a rough estimate of how much Alaska has spent to date on this entire SLEDS and Answers program, this data collection?
Through the chair, Representative Reinbold, I would estimate that expense at less than $500,000 for the 3-year grant project.
So I'm talking. I would like to know all the way back from 2006 when the SLEDS information, anything in regards to any state funding that we've received for the SLEDS or the answers, anything in regards to this data. In this time of fiscal uncertainty for the state, we just need to know how much and how much is predicted in the future. So on several different things, we're asking for a snapshot of the past 10 years and the the future 10 years. We're trying to look at sustainability issues, but I think that's very, very important. Everything, including equipment, salaries, conferences, training, everything. I would like a snapshot, especially right now when we're evaluating budgetary issues. It's very, very important that we understand how much the state has invested and how much you in complete package deal of all four of the silos, the linking of the data, the answers, the sleds, combining all of it, the whole thing. I'd like that information. And with that, we can yield to anybody else, but I have one final area that I'd like to talk about before the end of the day.